Hey everybody, I'm Eric Allgood, and welcome back to another edition of Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. Tony Chapman, as always, is back with us in Grand Island and with video this week even. The push and pull of the seasons continue as the leaves begin to change. We've reached the middle of September, which means the team identities will really start to show up no matter the sport. Tony, the train rolls on for the fall sports season.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. You know, we're past the middle of September, so we've only got about 20 days till softball districts start up, and cross country will be shortly thereafter. And we've hit almost the middle of the football and volleyball seasons here already. So yes, exciting times. A lot of great games coming up here in the next few days, and be good to talk about them tonight.
Absolutely. That's what we do on Prep Huddle Live. Of course, we always love interacting with the show on social media throughout the show. It's the Dickey's Barbecue in York social media feed. You can use the hashtag Prep Huddle Live. Some of you did that in earnest last week, you see at the bottom of your screen right here. And your comments will show up there. And if you have a question, we'll see if we can't get to that during the show as well. Now, speaking of the show, as I was preparing the script for tonight, I kept typing. Tonight, folks, we got a big one. York softball coach Danyel Seevers will join us to talk about the Duke's great start to their season. We will check in with Sutton defensive coordinator Craig Rafert as the Mustangs travel to Shelby in our Channel Seed Game of the Week this Friday night. Tony will give us the Striv stars, including a video highlight you will not want to miss. We've also got a portion of our Locker Room podcast from yesterday with Johnson Brock Volleyball coach Tera Stutheit to talk about their season. We'll wrap it up with the Striv 5, the 5 games on their respective Striv channels that you won't want to miss this Friday night. All of our guests join us via the Truck Center Companies Hotline. And our first guest for the evening is the head coach of the undefeated 15-0 York Duke softball team, Danyel Seevers. Coach, thanks a lot for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, I guess, first of all, you got to tell us how you feel the team has played so far this year. Obviously, you had some high expectations coming in. How do you feel that the team has responded to those?
You know, they've done a great job at taking those expectations and keeping them level to where we want them to be. The town and the community have been great about the support and knowing that we just lost one senior and what of course they expected with losing one senior. We should, make more of a statement this year and so forth. So there was a lot of pressure put on these kids. So going into the season, we really focused hard on just funneling in on what we need to get done and doing our thing and not letting those outside distractions affect us. And they've done a really good job with that.
Hey, Coach, a lot of coaches who we'd talk to, no matter the sport, would tell us that defense wins championships. So your team has given up 10 runs in 15 games. I think you got to be pretty happy with that. Can you talk about obviously your pitching and defense and how they've played so far this year on that side of things for you?
You know, our defense and offense have been great at just the maturity level as to where we were last year. Defensively, we've got a sophomore pitcher that has acquired a few more pitches throughout the off season and has done a great job. Her ERA is a .50 right now, and very proud of what she does. But here's the deal: the team behind her, and she knows this as well. The team behind her have been making fantastic plays. We've got Jordan Stearns at shortstop. We've got Lauren Riley at third base, made some great plays last night in our game against Holdridge. And so when they do connect with one, they really make some great plays and work hard at doing so.
Talk about, too, then, obviously on the other side for you guys, you've been held to under 5 runs just twice this season, so you've got to obviously be really pleased with how your offense and your approach at the plate has been so far as well.
Very much so. We spend a lot of time in practice on different pitching stations. Our coaches constantly are looking throughout the year on what we can do better to help our kids become, the best they can be at the plate. And our kids, they've done great. And I like that pretty much 1 through 9, at any time, any 9 of those girls can step up and do something big. There's really no easy out that we have. They come up to the plate. I told them the other night against Northwest, when they look at me down the third baseline to get their sign, it's great because they all look at me like, okay, I got this, let's get it done. So just the determination too, their confidence level, and they're also patient. And that's one thing we've really been working on. Every time you come to the plate, make sure we're making it count, and you are doing what needs to be done to be disciplined. Yeah, we know you want to hit it. We know you want that base hit, but we need to be disciplined. So we've done a good job at taking the walks when we needed them and waiting for their pitch to take.
Coach, what are some of the things that you look to shore up as the season winds down? You've got conference, you've got district, you've got the ultimate goal of the state tournament again, but maybe what are some of the specifics that you try to preach every day in practice?
Details. If you talk to the girls, the details, the small things, I'm so proud of them for being 15-0 and, ratings, all that is great. But if we don't keep focusing on our fundamentals and the little things, taking the little things right, I tell them every day, pick out something that you're going to hone in on today to make yourself better. So I just don't want them to go through the motions because we're undefeated. And I just don't want them to, they constantly hear me say, I want confidence, not cocky. We're never going to be cocky. We're never going to listen to what everybody's saying. We're going in with confidence, and we're going to work on the details. And the other part of that, too, I know I've talked to you guys before the season started. We have a lot of depth on our team, which is great to have. But I love how our kids have taken on the different roles. Our motto this year is we before me, and they have taken a lot of pride in that. And so we have 15 girls on varsity, which is the most we've ever had. And every single one of them has bought into the program and just done a great job at helping each other with their goals. We've told each other to help each other reach each other's goals. So that's kind of what we need to focus on, are just the details.
Coach, we're going to see you on your Striv channel tomorrow night, and then coming up on Saturday, a big tournament in Hastings. Talk about that tournament and how it prepares your team for the atmosphere at state. Absolutely, and that's what we're looking forward to. Saturday is a great tournament. It's got many rated teams in there. We open up with Class A Pius. It's got Seward in there, Norris, who just played Elkhorn South last night and gave them their second loss this week. So we've got all sorts of excitement, and that's what we want. I want the girls to get as close to the district and state atmosphere that we're going to have, those games that, you have to continue to pay attention and make every pitch count so that we can prepare ourselves to hopefully be at state a month from today. That's been York softball coach Danyel Seevers. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the Truck Center Companies Hotline, and hey, enjoy the bonfire tonight. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. All right, thanks a lot. Bye. And, Tony, we can now revisit last week. We had some great games and some great performances all across the board. We call it the Striv Stars, and I have a feeling that with Taylor being in the office all day today, this is going to look really cool. So, Tony, who shined brightest last week?
I want to, before Taylor gets going with his fun graphics, I want to, send a plea out to volleyball coaches, softball coaches. Tweet us or email us your big stars. It's a little easier for us to find those football stars, but I know last night we should give a shout out to North Bend Central volleyball team. They beat undefeated Wisner Pilger, who was number 1 in C1, and so a nice win for North Bend Central. And we want to continue to shine the light on cross country runners, volleyball players, softball players, all of those golfers, all of those folks who have had big falls. We want to spotlight them on the show here. But tonight we'll get into some great performances from Friday, and we'll start in Clark's with Thomas Young, the dazzling basketball player from last year at the state basketball tournament. He's now the quarterback for the Storm. And in week 1, they had top-ranked Guardian Angels Central Catholic on the ropes before they lost 34-30. They followed that up last week with a 49-28 win over number 5 Blue Hill. And Thomas Young had 224 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, all of them to Josh Demers. They covered 10, 50, 64, and 22 yards. He was 15 of 21 through the air. It does not get any easier this week. The Storm travel to face number 4 Bruning Davenport Shickley. That'll be a game we'll be focusing on throughout the rest of the week here. Big 8-man battle Class D1 there. Speaking of Bruning Davenport Shickley, we go to their signal caller, Riley Techmeyer, he had himself a day, maybe even like half a season in their 52-6 win against Giltner, who was number 3 in D2. He was 6 of 8 passing, 198 yards. 4 of those 6 completions went for touchdowns, 2 to Sam Christensen, 60 and 7 yards, and then single touchdowns to Ben Elsnick and Kale Kleinschmidt. In addition, Techmeyer had 101 yards rushing on 14 carries. I know, Eric, you'll have a interview with BDS coach Mark Roeder coming up this week on the Friday Night Spotlight. That'll be fun. For the 3rd week in a row, let's go to Brainerd for Skylar Thovex at East Butler, and we might just need to make a drive up there with one of our cameras here pretty soon. In a 68-32 win over Nebraska Lutheran, Skylar rushed 12 times for 183 yards. He had touchdown runs of 2, 35, and 40, and he passed for another 188 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's been a fantastic start for him and his team. They're off to a 3-0 start. I think in a few weeks, I believe it's October 2, I see a date that looms with Howells Dodge for the Tigers. We'll go up the road from my house to Grand Island Northwest, where Christian Ellsworth had himself a half against Alliance. They beat the Bulldogs 55-19. Ellsworth was 23 of 29 passing for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. He rushed for another 3 touchdowns, short runs there, 1, 2, and 1 yards, and that was all in the first half. On the season, he's 61 of 98, and he's closing in on 800 yards. He'll look to get that as the Vikings take a long bus trip on Friday to Gering. We go to Gothenburg, where Dominic Long has set the all-class record for field goals in a game in the Swedes' 26-6 win over Grand Island Central Catholic. He had field goals of 45, 45, 33, 25, and 32. The previous C1 record was 3, and then again, as I said, he tied the all-class record for field goals in a game. We go to Millard West. Quarterback Logan Anderjaska has the number 1 ranked Wildcats. He's done a great job with them in the first 3 weeks. They beat Lincoln East last week 49-14 at Seacrest Field. Logan rushed 8 times for 176 yards, scored 3 touchdowns, and for the season, a nice balance for him, 388 yards rushing, 448 yards passing. We were very impressed with the Wildcats when we saw them play against Millard North last week in their victory. Cue up the video, Taylor. Will go to Arthur County for Jake Kennedy's one-handed interception that he had against the Wolves last week. The Chargers are unbeaten, defending state champions. They're ranked first in 6-man. Kennedy is a big reason for that. Offensively, he's 181 yards rushing and 181 yards receiving in 2 games, and he leads the team with 36 tackles. If you'll remember, he was the honorary defensive captain of the 6-man All-State team last year. The Chargers got a big one on Friday. They will host Hyannis, who is ranked 3rd in 6-man as well. Hyannis is 1-1. No word on if Terry Keneally will be at that game in Spalding, Eric.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And we actually, when Tony says cue up the video, we did get our hands on the highlight video. This is courtesy of Scott Smeedy, but a big thank you to Scott, and we're going to roll through this a few times. And I know, Tony... All right, we're going to try this again. There we go. Now we can talk over this, Tony. But just a remarkable play by Jake Kennedy to Riverside to come down with this one-handed interception. It seems like since Odell Beckham made that ridiculous catch for the Giants last fall, everyone has got Super Stickum on the gloves, and all you got to do is get a mitt on it, and you're going to pull it down. But one more time just to look at it. It's just because it's fun. Up in the air, and then it's not in the air anymore, and it's going the other direction. So big play there from Jake Kennedy. By the way, we were really fortunate that we had seen that one on Twitter and got a hold of Scott's Media again. Thank you for that video, Scott. But we know that there are highlights like that all over the place. And we want to see them. So if you've got a clip like that, perhaps you shot it on your cell phone, perhaps the coach says, you know what, let's get it off our game film because we need to share this with some people. By all means, you can email us. You can email me, Eric, at strive.tv, tweet us at Strive Sports, find a way to get a hold of us, and we'd love to share more clips like that. And so hopefully Jake is the first in a lot of those big types of highlights. Speaking of highlights, we can go back to our Channel Seed Game of the Week. Last week we were in Central City, where number 2 ranked team in Class C1, Columbus Scotus, came to Central City and took on the Bison. We've got the highlights from last week's Game of the Week presented by Channel Seed. Baumsberger and Hamer back deep for the Bison. It's a good kick, and it will be fielded from about the 2. And this is Baumsberger coming to the near side and upended just as he crosses the 15-yard line. And this is Dotson, the fullback, right up the gut, and he's got a convoy down the far sideline at the 40, at the 30, still on his feet, and he will score. That will be 81 yards on the touchdown play by Marcus Dodson, the 180-pound senior fullback. And now they do want a roll pass. Prismus out to the right side. Taylor with a catch. Slips off a tackle. It's a foot race to the end zone, and Taylor's in there on the score. Beck the slot on the far side. Hamer split wide left. Baumsberger to the right. Shook goes in motion left. They look, and they want the deep out route, and it's caught for the touchdown. And Prismus wants to throw it. He will set it up, and it is intercepted. Ulmer has it at the 35 of Central City. It's all for naught. And they want the dive option that time, and getting to the 35 was the fullback that time, and this will depend on the spot. Scotus players are very confident that they're not even going to look at it. It is a stop on 4th down at the Central City 35. Obviously a huge set of plays here for Central City's defense, and that's Pelster on the double reverse inside. He's cutting up. He's at the 5, and he's in there for the touchdown. That will be the first half of play. Columbus Scotus uses the big plays offensively to take a 21-7 halftime lead. Give it to Pelster near side, cuts back up the middle, got a convoy again in front of him, and that's Bailey Pelster going to the far side, looking for the end zone, and he's got it again. Beck is deep in the eye. Carlson under center. And he wants the pitch. Beck gets it out there, and he's got the touchdown. Pelster in motion. Give it to Braley. Cutting up off a couple of guys, now spinning, still on his feet, and he squirts free, and he will go into the end zone. Touchdown, Bailey Pelster. 1st and 10, fullback dive. This is Dotson slipping off, and he's into the open field again. It's a big run. It's a touchdown run. Pelster will be the wing to the near side. Boss will be the fullback next to Prismus. 2 receivers out to the right. Fake the handoff and roll to the right. Setting up, throw it deep over the middle, and wide open is Pelster for the touchdown. And Wagner wants to throw it again. Deep post over the middle. Man is open. It is caught inside the 10 by Cordell Hamer. And then with the inside handoff, this is Jones cutting back, and he's got the touchdown. And that will be your ball game. Columbus Scotus comes to Central City tonight and takes it right to the Bison. 49-21, well over 500 yards of offense tonight put up by Columbus Scotus. And again, we want to say a big thank you to Dane Christensen and the Central City Strive crew for letting us in for Game of the Week, presented by Channel Seed. Tony, we saw a lot of remarkable things in that game last week, and now both these teams have to go forward. Columbus Scotus has got to have one of the most ridiculous schedules I've ever seen, with the amount of playoff teams from last year, state champions, what's coming up. They've already begun the playoffs. It started in week 1 for Scotus.
Yeah, I think the first 6 teams they played made the playoffs last year. They start off with the 2 Class C defending champions, and Boone Central and David City Aquinas. Their next 3 weeks now, they're at number 3 Pierce tomorrow. Then they'll also play Wahoo and Wahoo Newman in consecutive weeks, who are both ranked. So I'm sure they're ready for the playoffs at Scotus. It'll probably be an easier game once that time comes. And then you're right, for Central City, they've got to kind of bounce back here a little bit. They travel up to O'Neill. O'Neill's 2-1, so somebody's going to get to 3-1 there, and Central City's going to need to kind of forget this one and not let Scotus beat them twice.
Yeah, that's going to be mentally, I think, the biggest challenge for Central City going forward. Don't forget that you can tweet us during the show. Use the hashtag below on your screen if you're on Striv Sports right now, which is probably where you're looking at us. Use the hashtag PrepHuddleLive, and if you've got a comment or question, we can certainly try to answer the comment or question as best we can. With that, we want to say thank you to Cornerstone Bank, Dickey's Barbecue in York, Truck Center Companies, and Channel Seed for sponsoring Prep Huddle Live. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up on the show, including the Strive 5 at the end of the night, so stick around for that. You are watching Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
I never really imagined that I would be a diesel technician. I started out in a whole different other field and then kind of worked my way and stumbled my way into it, and I enjoy every day of it.
The people that I work with are great. Even if you're having a bad day, you know, they find some way to try to make you laugh or smile to try to brighten your day up. It can be a life-changing opportunity. So there's a lot of good things that this company has to offer.
Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart from other seed brands. It's our unmatched ability to provide you with the expert advice and customized service that helps you get the most yield out of your acres. It's the added value of year-round service combined with elite seed products that you only get from Channel Seed. At Channel, we know the importance of staying connected. As seed experts, we look to get the most out of your fields by putting ourselves in them throughout the season. That's seedsmanship at work. Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart. Favorites and online ordering so you can skip the line. That's what you'll find at Dickey's Barbecue in York. Log on to dickeys.com, select the York address, sign in, or create a profile, and you'll be ordering delicious barbecue in just seconds. Choose from a variety of meats like brisket, pulled pork, chicken breast, or sausage. Add a home-style side like waffle iron fries, fried onion tanglers, barbecue beans, and even fried okra. You won't go away hungry. Try Dickey's Barbecue today and log on to dickeys.com. Kids eat free on Sundays. Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com. Thanks a lot for joining us. This week, our Game of the Week presented by Channel Seed takes us to Shelby, where the third-ranked team in Class C2, the Sutton Mustangs, will play against the host, Shelby Rising City Huskies. The Huskies will be opening a new facility, hopefully yet this fall, complete with field turf in the near future. But this week, the Huskies are squarely looking at the Sutton Mustangs, and we have Sutton Assistant Coach and Defensive Coordinator Craig Rafert on the Truck Center Companies Hotline. Coach, thanks a lot for taking some time with us tonight.
Well, thanks a lot. Glad to be on.
Hey, Coach, thanks for coming on. Just briefly, you guys are off to a quick 3-0 start. Can you just talk about how the season's gone so far and how you feel like your team has played so far?
Well, we've been pretty consistent. Just working on some basic things and trying to get better game by game and play by play. We've got a lot of young kids stepping into some different spots and replacing some key players that we had last year, but they're making progress. And as a whole, we're seeing some good things, and try and fix the mistakes that we're making.
Hey, Coach, let's talk about your defense here real quick. Your side has given up no more than 2 scores in the game. How do you feel like that side of the ball has played so far?
Well, it's been interesting because we've got a good nucleus in the interior with the Garrett Stone and Garrett Clark, and at the defensive tackles, and then our inside linebackers of Christian Stingle and Tristan Sheridan. That's the heart of our defense. So we're trying as much as possible to encourage people to go at those guys, they've been doing a fantastic job. We've had a little bit of sickness. Tristan was sick against their Central and kind of bounced back against Tri-County, but they've been doing a great job of holding things together and allowing our young kids on the edges to grow and get better. And we're just trying to keep things as basic and as simple as possible. And the kids are doing a pretty good job, and just trying to minimize mistakes.
Coach, this would kind of be a 2-part question for you. I had jotted down that you've got your starting quarterback coming back, and then I find out Tanner Peterson's now playing tight end for you. So talk a little bit about how Garrett has played, and we know Sutton has an identity. I see you've thrown 19 passes in 3 games, so you know who you are, and you like to run the ball. You mentioned the Garretts. Can you talk about how your line has played so far, and just having those guys back, and how they were able to kind of pave the way for Noah's season last year? Talk about the experience they have, and how nice it is to have them on your side of the field.
Well, yeah, when you have that type of experience, both Garretts were starters for us last year. Christian Stingle also was a starter on the offensive line. And having 3 kids coming back, and some younger kids that were able to get some valuable experience in spots last year is nice. But when you got 2 kids like the Garretts, that you can, and especially like Tristan Stingle at fullback, if we want to pick a side and load up, there's a lot of size and a lot of experience, a lot of skill that someone's going to have to deal with, and that's kind of what right now we've been kind of hanging our hat on is letting those guys lead the way for us.
Coach, you guys had a heartbreaking end to one heck of a season last year. How did the kids respond in the off season to get you guys to where you are right now?
Well, Coach Raymer and Wiseman and I were talking about that earlier in the season. That after that Hartington game, our kids didn't hang their heads very long because they understood that we probably cost that game. Hartington was a great team, but we did a lot of things to lose that game as well. And so they really quickly kind of turned around and said, okay, we got to get these things fixed and we got to get better. And the seniors really took the younger kids under their wing and said, it's your turn to step up and get them in the weight room and get them going. And so that type of leadership's been great to see.
Coach, what have you seen on film this week as you prepare for Shelby Rising City that you feel like are going to be keys to this one on Friday night?
Well, Shelby runs a spread offense, so anytime you see teams come out with 4 receivers and 5 receivers and shotgun and run a lot of zone read and quick passes, and that really tests these young kids, making good decisions and having to play just real discipline. Do your job and stay in your area, and then of course making tackles. Sometimes in 11 man you don't get that experience of a lot of open field tackles, but that's something that's going to test us this week. So we've just got to be real prepared as far as trying to get in the right positions, get aligned, and make good decisions.
Coach, before we let you go, I want to put you on the spot for a little insider look to your team. Looking at a roster, Tony notices that it appears that there's 3 sets of brothers on your team, some of which you might have to put up with at home. So the question then becomes, have you had to break up any family spats at practices, or does that carry over to home sometimes too?
Yeah, I probably break up more at home than I do at practice. it seems like when they got the pads on, they're pretty nice to each other. But when they get home, it's free for all. So, no, but that's fun with all the different brothers, and we kind of, as we go through drills, we kind of use that to our advantage and line them up against each other and let them have fun.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks again to Coach Craig Rafert on the Truck Center Companies Hotline. Don't forget, you can catch the Sutton Mustangs and the Shelby Rising City Striv channel this Friday night, of course, in our Game of the Week, presented by Channel Seed. Coach, thanks a lot for the time tonight.
You bet. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, I think we've got another quick commercial break coming up, and we've got plenty more to go with the show. We've got a replay of our Locker Room podcast, or at least a portion of it, with Johnson Brock Volleyball coach Tera Stutheit. That was from yesterday. We'll have a portion of that. We'll run down some volleyball rankings. We'll talk about the Striv 5, the 5 games on football side for Friday night that you can't miss. And we'll run down the football rankings perhaps as well. So stay tuned for all of that. This is the Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. Home-cooked favorites and online ordering so you can skip the line. That's what you'll find at Dickey's Barbecue in York. Log on to Dickeys.com, select the York address, sign in, or create a profile, and you'll be ordering delicious barbecue in just seconds. Choose from a variety of meats like brisket, pulled pork, chicken breast, or sausage. Add a home-style side like waffle iron fries, fried onion tanglers, barbecue beans, and even fried okra. You won't go away hungry. Try Dickey's Barbecue today and log on to Dickeys.com. Kids eat free on Sundays.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
I love it. It's fun. It's a fun industry to be in. Meet lots of different people, do lots of different stuff. There's always something new happening, so.
So far I've been enjoying it since I've been here. It's been great, learning new stuff every day. I recommend anyone come in and work here because so far the working environment's friendly, everyone's kind, and also the new guys that come here, they will gain the confidence that they need just to come and work.
I like how everybody around here is, we all kind of become real good friends. It's like a second family here. It's not something you would come to just work for a month or two. It's something you'll want to stick with forever.
Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart from other seed brands. It's our unmatched ability to provide you with the expert advice and customized service that helps you get the most yield out of your acres. It's the added value of year-round service combined with elite seed products that you only get from Channel Seed. At Channel, we know the importance of staying connected. As seed experts, we look to get the most out of your fields by putting ourselves in them throughout the season. That's seedsmanship at work. Welcome back to Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. Earlier this week on the Locker Room Podcast, we had a chance to visit with Johnson Brock Volleyball coach Tera Stutheit about the start to the Eagles season, ranked number 1 in the middle of this week, and of course then they end up with a loss on Monday night, but that's okay. We also learned a little bit not just about the start to the Eagles season, but perhaps to the secret to their success. Here's a hint. It might lie in Grandma's cookies. 8-3 is the season record as it stands, and usually we have the locker room jinx that comes after. But you guys actually ended up with a loss last night. But overall for the season, how have you liked how your team has played?
We have had some really great games. The girls have played with a lot of intensity. We've had we kind of hit the ground running with the Freeman tournament. Played some great competition there. And then, just continued with some really what I would call tough matches, just really competitive. And we found a way, I guess, to kind of rise up to those big games. And they've continued to work hard and get better with every game.
And then, of course, we were talking beforehand that Monday night then, well, maybe there was a little setback. And maybe that happens, though, in the course of what's got to be a very fast season for volleyball, that, some nights it just doesn't quite click in as fast as it should.
Yeah, that is, I think, what happened. We did have again another Saturday. We had 3 games. Tough game Saturday against Sacred Heart, and turn right back around and play them again on Monday. And we just had a little bit of loss of focus, I guess I could say, in that game, and we were definitely challenged mentally. But like every loss, we're going to learn something from it and not let it affect what's coming up for us this week. So
we've talked about the schedule. It's got the Freeman tournament. It's got some fantastic matches. There's ranked teams all over your schedule coming up and that you've already played. But has there been one match or maybe even one set that has really kind of stuck out to you that maybe is above the others a little bit?
I think when we beat Diller Odell at the Freeman tournament, that was a great, intense match for us. And there was a couple times during that game where we were down, and they didn't let it bother them and just kind of we did our thing, and it worked out. So that game's kind of our highlight so far.
Going forward, we've with all of these tough teams that have been on the schedule that are coming up, all of that has to kind of funnel its way to the end of October. So how do you as the coach kind of flip that switch with the girls and say this is what's going to get us better at the end of the month?
I've said all along the psychological part of coaching has been a challenge for me. Just being a new head coach, that part has been really hard, but. I think having had some early success, it's been great, and I continually tell the girls to remember what those games feel like and to sort of draw from that energy and to learn from those plays that don't go the way they're supposed to. And then also just every day in practice, we say we're going to get better every day, and we're going to get better every game, and just kind of pushing through, for the end of the season, like you said.
And now I want to kind of separate us from the intensity of the team stuff, because we know that on those tournament Saturdays, there can be some downtime, and high school kids in general can tend to be goofy. So has there been one moment through this season that you kind of watched your team or someone on your team do something, you just go, that's a kid being a kid?
Nothing is really coming to my mind right now. Gosh, I don't know. We have one player who brings her grandma's cookies, to those tournaments, and they like to snack on those. But really nothing is coming to my mind right now, I guess.
Well, maybe the super cookies are the secret to success.
Yeah, it might be.
Coach, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck to you and the girls the rest of the way.
All right. Thank you very much.
And, of course, you can listen to the entirety of the podcast here on the website, or don't forget you can subscribe to our iTunes channel. You get all of the shows. You get Locker Room Podcast. You get the audio version of Prep Huddle Live. We turn that right around and make that a nice long audio podcast where you listen to. Of course, the Friday Night Spotlight comes on there as well on Fridays. It's a wonderful tool that you can take with you as your statewide pregame show. Looking forward to what we can put together for you coming up this Friday night. Well, Tony, we just had the word, of course, with Tera Stutheit of Johnson Brock. So let's run down some of our volleyball rankings if we can. Striv schools have been very well represented throughout the school year so far, and again this week is no different.
Yeah, I believe we ended up with 13 teams in the rankings from Mike Patterson, the Omaha World Herald. This week, they're headlined by Grand Island Northwest, who's 4th in Class B, 9th in the all-class rankings. They're coming off a win against Kearney. I believe that was on Monday night. They beat Kearney, and their only losses to second-ranked North Platte. And then Millard West at 7-3 is 10th in the all-class rankings. They just flipped spots. Millard West made it to the finals of the Millard North Invite last weekend and was beaten by Omaha Scut in Class B. Omaha Scut's 12-1. They're 5th in the all-class ranking, and as I said, they're number 1 in Class B. Also in Class B, we have Aurora, who's 9-2, and they were a good match with Minden last night on their Strive channel. The Huskies and the Vikings are, I think, set for a showdown in the Central 10 Conference Final and probably in the B6, I believe it'll be district, so B5 maybe. So it'll be they'll see each other probably 2 or 3 more times, and then Grand Island Northwest has their big invitational that'll be coming up next weekend. And speaking of big ones as well, Millard West will be in the Allison Weston Invitational, which will be at Papillion La Vista next weekend as well. Those are probably two of the bigger tournaments in the state next weekend. Moving down into Class C1. Eric, I put you on the spot. Did you happen to see the Bridgeport Triangular results last night? I know we had Shadron down there. I'm not sure if they won both of their matches last night or not. They were 3-0 when the rankings came out. I'm sure we can pull up this. Let me pull up the scores here real quick, and I'll see if Shadron got them both. They beat Bridgeport and Sydney both in 2 sets, and then it looks like Bridgeport also beat Sydney in 3 in that triangular last night. That was on Striv. So that one, Shadron is 5-0 now. They're ranked 5th in C1. Close behind them is St. Paul, who's a new Strive school. They are ranked 7th at 5-1. If we look on further down into Class C2, again, we discussed earlier in the show, North Bend beat Wisner Pilger last night, who was number 1. This thing has kind of gone all over the place. Last week's number 1 was Crofton. They dropped to 9th. West Point Guardian Angel CC is 2nd. Freeman at 10-0. When the rankings came out, they're now 12-0. They've won 45 straight. They will play Diller Odell in the Mudakis A Division final tomorrow night, and Diller Odell is 2nd in D1. They were ranked just behind Johnson Brock. Johnson Brock lost to Fall City Sacred Heart, who's ranked in D2 in the first round of the A Division. Believe Johnson Brock will play Bruni Davenport Shickley for the 5th place game tomorrow night in the Mudakis. Sutton was 4th at 5-1. They fell from 2nd. Their only lost to Kearney Catholic. They lost to them in the Kearney Catholic Invite last week. And Nebraska Christian is still undefeated at 6th this week, up from 9th last week for the Eagles. Now we move on down. As you said, Johnson Brock was number 1 in Class D1. I got a feeling that thing's going to juggle between maybe 3 or 4 different teams as the season goes on. Johnson Brock, Diller Odell will play each other probably a couple more times. Emerson Hubbard from the northeast corner of the state has a nice team. Axtell and Heartland actually went from unranked to number 5. So the Huskies make their debut at 5-1. And I believe next week they might have a match with Hampton next Tuesday, which will be a good match. I think that one is over in Hampton. And then they also beat Cedar Bluffs, as Cedar Bluffs was ranked 7th last week and undefeated. That's Cedar Bluffs' only loss was Heartland, so they jump into the rankings there. Also, New Strive School Howells Dodge at 6-2 is also in the D1 rankings, so 3 teams there in D1. And then we move down to D2, Exeter Milligan at 7-2. Hampton is ranked at 4-3. The losses are to BDS and Giltner. And then I think there was a loss, I believe, to Bertrand in the Loomis tournament. Bertrand is 9th in D1. And then New Strive School Paxton is undefeated, and they are a new number 10 in Class D2. So Coach Jody Rhodes, who has seen more volleyball games than probably half of Grand Island all put together. Well, not Grand Island. We play a lot of volleyball in Grand Island, but Coach Jody Rhodes does a great job out there for the Tigers, and they're undefeated early at 3-0 and ranked 10th in Class D2. Those would be the rankings, Eric, for volleyball. Again, 13 Strive schools are ranked here this week, headed into, we're kind of approaching right about the middle of the volleyball season here. Most teams have got 8 to 12 matches in, and they'll be at about 20 to 24 when district time hits. So about halfway through the season here for volleyball.
And we've kind of added a little bit of content, not necessarily content, but of awareness to the Strive Sports website, of course. Last week on Prep Huddle Live, we kind of debuted the audio announcement of our Strive 5 and the 5 football games that we wanted to especially point out beyond just our Game of the Week presented by Channel Seed. We also did that this week for some volleyball. Then we had, I think, 3 matches on Tuesday, and there's a couple of Thursday matches on there. So that's something that we're going to do with volleyball going forward, is try to pick out maybe the five games or matches that we know will be on the Striv channels and kind of point you in that direction. So be especially watching Striv Sports for the Striv 5. And now, of course, we want to come up with the football Striv 5. Shelby at Rising City is hosting Sutton. That's our game of the week presented by Channel Seed. It's just one of many great games expected this Friday. So here is the football Striv 5. But, Tony, before we really get into that, I want to get your thoughts because while we had the show going here, we got an email about Skylar Thovex football stats from this year. And I know I think he's been a Striv star almost every week if he hasn't. And we have seen kids the last number of years really put up what some people would think, and I still do. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the video game-like numbers that some of these kids put up as far as yardage. And it's kind of all over the place. It hasn't been that long ago that, if you had 300 yards of total offense, wow, you probably really dominated that game. It seems like anymore 300 yards of offense, you should probably be approaching that by halftime.
Yeah, I would say so. We just had Columbus Scotus in Central City last week, and Columbus Scotus was near 600 yards. I had him for 590. Stu had him for right about 600, so we were, pretty close in there. But even in the loss, Central City racked up, I believe, just over 350 yards of total offense. So, a few things go into that, Eric, I would say. Coaching. I mean, coaches continually get better and better, and I think the film scouting that they do, second to none with things like Huddle, and in basketball there's crossover, but all those types of things certainly don't hurt. Second of all, football has really become more of a year-round sport. I know, when I grew up and watched football with my dad in the 80s and played football in the early 90s, and as it transitioned, basketball was really kind of the thing you did in the summer, and now you still see a lot of basketball played in the summer, but there's more and more football that gets played in the summer. With the advent of 7-on-7 has really allowed teams to play and do a lot of those spread type things in the summer, so that has really helped. And I think more than anything, the game has just evolved to where coaches want their offenses to make the defense defend the whole field. You just heard Craig Rafert say it, that Shelby Rising City is going to be a spread team with 4 wides. We saw it with Central City last week. That doesn't mean you can't win doing it the other way. Certainly Millard North and David City Aquinas and Columbus Scotus have done it kind of the old school double wing option way. But even in the college game, you see a team like Georgia Tech can still do that very effectively. So there are a lot of different ways you can attack defenses now. And it's really kind of fun to watch football anymore. As we had Sutton on the show, if Sutton passes it 8 times on Friday, Eric, I'd be shocked. They're just gonna line up. They're gonna probably be double tights and maybe in the eye, or maybe in a Maryland eye, or maybe in a full house offset eye that we used to call the Osborne when Tom Osborne ran it. And they're just going to go right at you. So there's still a lot of ways to win football games. It just kind of depends on what that coach wants to do.
Last week you and I both joked that we had room on our stat pages for 50 passing attempts. So you're saying we won't need those this week, perhaps?
You will not need them. I don't know about Shelby Rising City, but you will not need them for Sutton. As you saw their stat sheet today. They've thrown it 19 times in 3 games. So I think Coach Raymer had his way. He wouldn't pass once, maybe twice. The one thing I always watched from Sutton the last couple of years is they've been really, really successful. They've been a team who, when they do pass, it works. They suck you up with play action, and they can get guys open. Even last year, some of their most effective plays were Noah Johnson passing. They get him on a toss, and then they get him on a halfback option pass type play. And so they pass it very effectively. But line play for Sutton has really been good. And I think if you sampled coaches across the state from Bridgeport to Shadron to Fall City, they'd probably still tell you, control the line of scrimmage type deal. That's what they still want to do. Even if they're in a spread, they want to be able to control the line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. So let's get into now what we call the Strive 5 games. These are the 5 games that we think on the Strive channels you're going to want to watch. They might be a top matchup with ranked teams. They might be a classic rivalry. Tony, let's go through it because we've got some good ones coming up. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, I got to do it like this. Number 5. Taylor said I got to do it like that.
Okay. Number 5, Ogallala, who was ranked last week. They were beat by Holdridge. So they dropped out of the rankings. They're 2-1. They travel to Gothenburg. We mentioned Gothenburg's kicker. They got a win against Grand Island Central Catholic last week. So one team gets to 3-1. That's going to be kind of a big one, jockeying themselves for playoff position there. That's all been a pretty good rivalry here about the last decade. Two well-coached, pretty good teams in that one.
Number 4.
Number 4, Lincoln Pius, 2-1. York, 3-0, Class B, number 5. Dukes had a nice start to the season. They've only given up, I think, 20 points I saw today in 3 games. Pius was a game that York lost last year. It was their last loss of the regular season, and it was a game that I believe York ran like 10 or 11 plays the second half. Pius just controlled the ball on him, ran it right at him. This will be one I think York will be very focused on, and York's played good football early. This will be another one. If they can get to 4-0, they really set themselves up nice for district play, which will be tough with Aurora and Northwest and Seward as the season comes along.
Number 3.
Bridgeport travels to Gibbon, and our folks from the Bridgeport Strive channel are also traveling to Gibbon to stream this one. Bridgeport enters the rankings at 2-1 in Class C2, and Gibbon is 6th at 3-0. Gibbon's got a really nice team. Last year had one of their best seasons in school history. I believe they finished 8-2, and Bridgeport looks to get a big win here. That should be a fun one in Gibbon. Should be interesting.
Number 2.
Number 2, 6-man. Number 3, Hyannis. 1-1 at number 1 Riverside. Don't tell anybody you can watch this one at work because this will kick off at 2:00. Nice back in Hyannis. I believe his name is Gabe. Really good runner. And then we all know about Riverside. Again, they had 3 returning All-Staters from last year's team. So Joe Imus has riches in Spalding, and they can, with Noah Velasic and Jack Kennedy, that's a great 1-2 punch on offense and defense. And I believe Tanner Hudson, the All-State basketball player, up over 200 yards receiving already for the Chargers. That'll be a fun one to watch just to kind of see how well Riverside looks in the 6-man game. I think they're going to be pretty tough out come November.
They took a good game to Arthur County last week, I think, right? Who was number 2 at the time. So here comes Hyannis at number 3. So that'll be an interesting one to watch at work on Friday afternoon.
Yeah,
and
it sets up really well before you get to number 1. You know, St. Edward is number 2, and those schools really are kind of backdoor rivals there. So I'm excited to see how that plays out as the season goes on. Remember, Riverside last year played Spalding Academy in the 6-man final and avenged that loss to win the state championship. So it could be 2 backyard rivals again, possibly in the state finals in Kearney come November.
Number 1.
Number 1, we mentioned it already. D1 number 9 High Plains 1-1 at number 4 Bruning Davenport Shickley. Taylor, flash it up my screen. I think that one's at Bruning if I'm not mistaken, but I might have to double check that one.
Bruning.
High Plains is, as you know, state basketball champs last year, had preseason number 1 Guardian Angel Central Catholic on the ropes, and they beat Blue Hill last week. BDS has also beat Blue Hill in their 3-0 start to the season, and the Eagles too will get a bye after this game. So this was a good one last year. We were up there in Clark's, 2 really good teams, kind of going at it. It'll be kind of a contrast in styles. High Plains is one of those spread teams. They're going to want to get you all across the field. They've got nice weapons with Thomas Young and Kyler Van Housen and Josh Demirs, as we said. And Bruning Davenport Shickley, they get it done on defense, man. The 2, Sam Christensen and Ben Elsnick, who play linebacker for them, they're fast enough that they can cover the field almost sideline to sideline. I'll be really interested to see how this one turns down if Bruning Davenport Shickley can, like last year, slow High Plains offense down.
Defense wins the championships, right?
Something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. And I think when I talked to Coach Roeder earlier today, and he's got a unique group. You're going to definitely want to check out the Friday Night Spotlight podcast that we've got for you a little bit later on this week. And if we can, Tony, as we get close to our 8:30 time, we're going to wrap up our time shortly. We'll kind of run through some of our Striv schools that we can find in the football rankings for this week as well.
Yeah, Taylor flashed us a Twitter here on our screen, and Jared Royal wanted to know if our game of the week next week was going to be Howells Dodge and Clarkson Lee.
I say we throw them into the hat, huh?
There's a chance. We, I think next week are going to have about 3 games that we're going to give our viewers the opportunity to see. I do know that we're planning to see Howells Dodge a little bit later in the year with their they'll have a big game against Creighton, and I think I probably should have shut my mouth on that one, Taylor. I apologize, but that's one that's on our radar for a few weeks down the road. But we're going to throw 2 or 3 games in the hat next week, and we're going to let our Twitter followers and maybe even our Facebook folks pick the game of the week. So that'll be fun. Should be good. But yeah, Howells Dodge and Clarkson Lee would be fantastic. Great football rivalry, great football teams and towns up in that part of the state. So
Tony,
we should do some rankings, or I should stop talking, or what?
Well, stop talking for a second and watch our website, strivsports.com, because we'll have a post letting you know exactly what we're going to do and kind of go through that. We're going to kind of iron out some details in the next day or so and let you know what might be on the way for the game of the week. Now, Tony, please regale us again with the top 10s. Millard West, I'm going to take this one, though. Millard West as the Class A number 1. Until proven otherwise, and I know Bellevue West has had a fantastic start to their season. Grand Island has played very well. Until proven otherwise, I'm going to take Millard West in any game they got.
Yeah, I'd still agree with you on that. I think Millard West and Bellevue West, the cream of the crop right now. As you kind of look ahead, Grand Island will play at Columbus this week. Then next week they'll play at Westside. That'll sort itself out there a little bit. Omaha Central is on TV and on Striv tomorrow night. They have the Thursday night game where they'll play Burke. Burke is 1-2, but played Omaha North, beat Omaha North 51-50 is their win, and losses I believe are to Grand Island, then in Papillion, La Vista South. So 2 close losses there. That'll be an interesting game to watch. If Omaha Central can get by that one, they'll be really looking forward to week 9 where they would play Bellevue West. It looks like, if that would be, kind of a game that people would have their eye on. For Millard West, a couple weeks down the road, it would be 3-0 Norfolk, possibly in the way of their undefeated season. But yeah, I would agree. You've got kind of, I would say 5 teams right there at the top. Even Millard North and Papillion La Vista South probably could lay claim as a team that wouldn't surprise you if they did something in November in Class A.
Class B, we see Omaha Scott in Class B at the top, and you'd be hard-pressed to pick against them. Elkhorn South and Gretna, of course, still in that group. Elkhorn is the one that got knocked out, got Beatrice, who joins the rankings this week, to take Elkhorn out. But as far as Striv schools are concerned, you've got McCook, York, and Aurora going 4, 5, and 6 right now.
Yep, and McCook just beat Scottsbluff last week, who's ranked 7th. Scottsbluff hadn't been scored on all week. That was a 20-14 win for McCook, and I believe I heard, Coach Jeff Gross, Scottsbluff was driving late, and McCook batted down a pass in the end zone inside the final minute there. York and Aurora, all things point to their Week 9 matchup, which would be certainly very fun over in Aurora this year. Aurora will travel to McCook next week, I think, maybe, and that'll be obviously a really, really good game. But, all 3 of those teams getting it done with defense. As you see there, York has outscored its opponents 92-21 so far. And again, I think York really probably focused in on this Pius game after one that they let them get away from them last week. So.
Then we go down to Class C1. You've got Norfolk Catholic. You've got Columbus Scotus. You've got Pierce. Of course, Scotus and Pierce play this week. We got a chance to see Scotus up close last week, and boy, did they look dominant.
Yeah, all the usual suspects, right, in Class C1. So, I mean, these teams, none of them surprise you that they're there. Holdridge really is probably the outlier because they've always been Class B. They've got a nice team down there this year. And as I said, they just beat Ogallala here last week. They are in the district with Central City and Kearney Catholic and Grand Island Central Catholic. So, Central City and Holdridge could be a game to look forward to as the season comes on. Boone Central has righted the ship since that opening loss to Columbus Scotus. The next big one kind of on their list will be Norfolk Catholic late. I believe that one's in Norfolk this year. But as we discussed earlier, Columbus Scotus plays Pierce, number 3, Wahoo Newman, number 5, and Wahoo, number 6 in the next 3 weeks. So unbelievable schedule for the Shamrocks.
Like we said, if Scotus makes it through the first 6 weeks of the season undefeated, I don't think they'll have a playoff run that will be that tough again.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think. We drop down to Class C2. Hastings St. Cecilia is on top of that class, 156 points put up by the Blue Hawks so far this season. Sutton, who will feature on our Game of the Week at Shelby Rising City, they check in at number 3, and Bridgeport checking in at number 10 in Class C2.
Yeah, as we discussed, Bridgeport will play 6th-ranked Gibbon this week in a game that Bridgeport will stream in Gibbon for their folks there. And then how about that district that sets up with Hastings St. Cecilia, Sutton, and Doniphan-Trumbull? They'll all play each other, so 1, 3, and 5 all in the same district, and they'll probably kind of beat each other up there through the year. It'll be interesting to see how those games shake out. I know Sutton, I believe they'll host Doniphan-Trumbull, if I'm not mistaken, and they will travel to Hastings St. Cecilia to play in the outfield at Duncan Field. I love that place to watch a football game.
All right, now the 8-man ranks, and there are some great ones. 8-man 1, or D1, if you will. We've got 5 Striv schools in the top 10. You've got Creighton sitting there at number 2, BDS at number 4. Of course, they're home against High Plains, who's number 10. You've got Howells Dodge at 6, and you've got East Butler checking in at 9. If you are a Striv school playing 8-man football, there's a great chance you're ranked this week.
Yeah, come join us. Guardian Angels, Hemingford, Perkins County, Burwell, Amherst. We'd love to have you.
We might as well have all 10, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a call with Hemingford next week.
There you go.
All
Excellent.
right.
So I'm going to apologize to East Butler. I've been saying that High Plains is ranked 9th. They're actually ranked 10th, and East Butler is 9th. I think, again, things point to East Butler and Howells Dodge being a pretty good one. You mentioned Clarkson Lee; they're undefeated, so it'd be interesting to see if they go along the next couple of weeks. But a lot of good teams there. Creighton with new coach Gene Sewell. Imagine they will have a 0 on the right side for a long time here. They seem to be off to a quick start as well in Class D1.
And then in D2, you've got Exeter Milligan, of course, rolling along there 2-0 on the season. Osceola, Coach T.J. Nielsen has the Bulldogs at 3-0 on the season. And Johnson Brock enters the rankings as well there at number 10.
Yeah, I'm interested to see Johnson Brock. I know they took it to Hampton, my alma mater, here earlier this year in the first game, but they've got, I believe, a big one with Exeter Milligan coming up in a couple weeks, so that'll be a nice test for them. Exeter Milligan, of course, is the defending champs in that class. Lost a big senior class, but they're kind of humming right along. I was trying to do the math. They had won 28 in a row now.
Should be 28 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 28 in a row, and then 40 of their last 41 because they were the runner-up the year before that. So they play a little football in Fillmore County. As you said, Osceola's off to a nice start. Things point for the Bulldogs to a district title kind of matchup with Humphrey St. Francis, who's in their district. I believe that's a early to mid-October game that we'll have our eye on. Lawrence Nelson at number 9, if I could get a quick shout-out into a Grand Island City school here. Heartland Lutheran is 2-0 for the first time in the history of their school, and they are playing Lawrence Nelson this week, so that's a game that might get the Red Hornets, you never know, into the rankings. They had 7 starters back from their team last year, and good to see the Red Hornets having a little bit of success on the football field. They've had some good success playing basketball, but not on the gridiron yet, but good stuff this year.
And in the six-man ranks, Riverside, with half their team being an all-state selection from a year ago, they're still at number 1, and St. Ed checks in at number 2 this week. Of course, Riverside takes on number 3 Hyannis coming up on Friday.
Yeah, so Riverside beats Minotera in week 1. Minotera was a state semifinalist last year and played them in the state basketball tournament actually as well. Then they played number 2 Arthur County, passed that test with flying colors. Now they'll play number 2 St. Ed, who's had a nice start to their season. St. Edward, they kind of don't really – looks to me like they just kind of like to run it right at you. I don't know that they've passed it very much in their first 2 games either. Looks like they've got a lot of speed. I believe Keenan Rasmussen is the name there for the Beavers. And maybe Scott Shanley will come to a game, 6-man game this year. Who knows?
Tony's dropping names from Husker lore like crazy here tonight. Do we need to check in with our Dickey's Barbecue in York social media feed for this evening? We had the one from Jared that Tony had mentioned earlier. Again, we want to say thanks to Scott Smeedy, who had the Twitter video of Jake Kennedy from Riverside and his one-handed interception. We want to reiterate the fact that if you have got a clip like that, perhaps you shot it on your cell phone, or the coaches really feel that they want to share an outstanding play, whatever the sport, might be football, volleyball, cross country might be difficult for that quick highlight, but you never know. If you can cut it down like that, we'll be happy to take it. We'd love to share those, and if we got that video, then it's a pretty good bet it's going to end up on Striv Stars at some point. Tony, final thoughts as we wrap things up here tonight?
I don't think so. I see we're 5 minutes over, so I will not say anything, and I will see you in Shelby on Friday night. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, the Sutton Mustangs will be up there. Thanks for tuning in to Prep Huddle Live. We hope you enjoyed it. The replay of this show will be available shortly on the website. Our sponsors again, thanks to Cornerstone Bank, Truck Center Companies, Dickey's Barbecue in York, and Channel Seed. We also say thanks for the tweets of those of you that used that tonight. Don't forget, Friday Night Spotlight is coming up on Friday, that we will showcase all of the games in the state, and we will, of course, talk about some of the top games coming up as well. Thanks for watching Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com.
I never really imagined that I would be a diesel technician. I started out in a whole different other field and then kind of worked my way and stumbled my way into it, and I enjoy every day of it.
The people that I work with are great. Even if you're having a bad day, they find some way to try to make you laugh or smile, to try to brighten your day up. It'd be a life-changing opportunity. So there's a lot of good things that this company has to offer.
Seedsmanship is what truly sets Channel Seed apart from other seed brands. It's our unmatched ability to provide you with the expert advice and customized service that helps you get the most yield out of your acres. It's the added value of year-round service combined with elite seed products that you only get from Channel Seed. At Channel, we know the importance of staying connected. As seed experts, we look to get the most out of your fields by putting ourselves in them throughout the season. That's seedsmanship at work.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
Home-cooked favorites and online ordering so you can skip the line. That's what you'll find at Dickey's Barbecue in York. Log on to Dickeys.com, select the York address, sign in, or create a profile, and you'll be ordering delicious barbecue in just seconds. Choose from a variety of meats like brisket, pulled pork, chicken breast, or sausage. Add a home-style side like waffle iron fries, fried onion tanglers, barbecue beans, and even fried okra. You won't go away hungry. Try Dickey's Barbecue today and log on to Dickeys.com. Kids Eat Free on